Hey, what's up? It's Fonz. I want to ask the Fonz. Today I'm so excited to share with you that I'm starting a new series called Fonz's Favorite Frames. Basically, I'll be calling out one scene in a movie or TV show to study the film editing for. And in this episode, we'll be looking at the 2002 summer blockbuster, Top Gun Maverick, edited by Eddie Hamilton, ACE. Top Gun was definitely a favorite film of mine during the summer, so I had to dissect the editing on it and share with you my thoughts on my favorite edited scene. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So the scene to study film editing for in Top Gun Maverick would be Maverick's test run. To give you context of the scene before we break it down, this was the part right after Maverick was kicked out of being designated captain for training the pilots for a nearly impossible mission. The Admiral, played by John Hamm, clashed with Maverick's teachings as he decided to take over as commanding leader. However, in the next debrief, the Admiral is interrupted by Maverick, who proves that this mission can be done his way and even in less time. Side note, if you'd like to watch the scene, please go to my blog post on my website to check it out. When I do these videos, I'm sharing with you why these scenes should be looked at for editing and what it's like from the perspective of a film editor when approaching these scenes. So just keep that in mind. Let's begin. The first aspect to look out for in this scene is how well editor Eddie Hamilton prioritized story. Why I love this scene for editing is because not one frame in the sequence do we ever get lost on where Maverick is in his flight. Eddie knew how important it was to prioritize story above all else despite having to juggle different types of shots. I can only guess that the priority list of what Eddie had in his mind when editing this scene was as follows. First, story. Like I said, we need to know where Maverick is at all times in this simulation. If we had to cut or add a shot to help the audience track him, then so be it. The ability for the audience to track where he is supersedes anything below this tenet. The second on the priority list is Maverick. This is Maverick's scene, no question. This should be about him and having all the other shots complement him. All of the front-facing cockpit interior shots supersedes anything below this tenet. The third is reactions. Reactions from all the other pilots. We need to see everyone's reactions because each character has a specific personality and the way that they react are extremely different. We need to give each character their moment. So when you mix all of these three key components in the scene, you can really see the intentions of each shot when cutting to them. The next aspect I want to talk about is how well Eddie holds on shots. I always love dissecting edits when there's a moment where we don't cut and just hold on the take. I love studying this because it really shows that the editor is trying to tell us something and forcing us to pay attention to a moment or a look. If you rewatch this scene, there are a couple shots Eddie holds on for about 5 to 7 seconds, which is actually a pretty long time when you're in a fast-paced action sequence. Specifically, when Maverick flips upside down to start the exercise. Take a look at that part. We're put into the driver's seat as if we're actually flying this F-18. No cuts, just a medium close-up of Maverick. Think about it for a second. Eddie could have cut to an exterior shot of the F-18 doing the flip, back to Maverick, and possibly back to the plane crossing the start line. But he stayed on Maverick the entire time. Why? Because it gave us something more emotional, a story moment. We felt the determination and the confidence that Maverick is going to prove everyone wrong, all in this 7-second shot. That beats any beauty shot or any edit that doesn't serve anything other than eye candy to us. Letting shots play out is a very important skill to learn as an editor. The most important thing to learn as an editor is to only cut when you need to cut. So the next time you're watching any scene from any TV show or a film, really look for those moments when editors don't cut. And ask yourself, why did they hold on that? The next aspect I want to talk about are the reaction shots. This is actually a well-kept secret editors use to amplify story. Reaction shots serve the purpose of giving the audience a chance to use their imagination to tell them what actually happened. Fun fact, we see this in classic films like Jaws, where we don't even see the shark in the first half of the film, just the reactions. In the same vein, the reaction shots in this sequence give us a chance to be left in suspense and not know if Maverick will actually successfully complete the mission. It's a beautiful mix of being in the cockpit and then out of it in the command center, watching it with the other pilots. In addition to that, we add in the personalities of each pilot reacting, and it makes for wonderful edit since we get to know these pilots even more throughout the way that they react. Although I listed reactions at the bottom of the priority list when editing, it's important to know that the reaction shots can bail out an editor when a scene is flat. Think about it. If we removed all of the reaction shots in the scene, it wouldn't be as suspenseful as it is, and it would feel slow, repetitive, and flat. Let's now talk about the score and the sound mix. What I find very interesting in the scene is that the score actually matches the tone of the scene. It doesn't fight it. It's almost inaudible at some points and purposefully not upstaging the scene. It's there at the right moments and complements Maverick's progress throughout the simulation. I'm curious, however, to see the scene without any score to see what it would sound like. I actually would like to lean into the realism aspect of the scene and see if we actually need the score. The sound mix of this sequence is incredibly well thought out and so precise. If you rewatch the parts when the shots go in and out of the cockpit, you'll see what I mean. The loud wisps and the booms of the aircraft, then cutting right back into Maverick's breathing techniques to stay conscious under 5+ Gs is actually worth studying for if you're really trying to learn how to sound mix. Lastly, let's put ourselves in the shoes of Hollywood film editor Eddie Hamilton, ACE, and imagine if we were to cut this scene ourselves. Here's what we would do after we watch the dailies. First, we'd build the entire sequence of Maverick's test run with only the interior cockpit shots and exterior F-18 shots. This is to build the skeleton of the scene. Remember, we need the audience to be able to track this test run or else we lose them. Nothing from the headquarters scene just yet, unless the dialogue is scripted and needed. Once we have our skeleton, let's add the crucial story points of when to cut to the navigation map or the timer. Why? Because again, we're trying to make sure the audience can still track the story, but we're now adding different visual elements. And then we just go and build from there. The important part about all this is to remember that we cannot lose the audience. They will second guess your storytelling as an editor if we can't follow what's happening. This scene in particular does a great job of keeping us aware of where we are in the simulation and also giving us a dynamic edit where we can see reaction shots and different visual devices that keep it exciting and suspenseful. It's all great editing. So that all but wraps up this episode of Fonz's favorite frames for Top Gun Maverick. I hope you learned a little bit of what goes into the editing psychology of building a scene like this and what the order of operation is for building story. Feel free to leave a comment below as well and let me know what your favorite scene was from Top Gun Maverick. I'd love to hear your thoughts on which scene you loved for editing. Lastly, please like, share, and subscribe so that I could reach a wider audience to share more about my film editing theories here on my YouTube channel. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found something useful here. Until next time.